is all you need. You can study, you can live, you can walk abroad. Just for education, actualizing dreams. For seamless admission and visa processing to study, work, and live abroad, call Jestone Education on 080-94194-444 or 0909-8919-444. Jestone Education, actualizing career dreams.
Good morning and welcome to Jestone Education's exclusive webinar with the University of Southern Denmark. So I'm just gonna say hi to a couple of persons in the group. Hi Ayomide, hi Chikudi, hi Diana. Please, if as I'm saying hi to you, and even if I don't call your name, just drop a fire emoji in the comments. Let me know that you are ready to get some amazing information in today's webinar. Olisa, good morning. Peace, Rhoda, Samson, just drop a fire emoji. Let me know that you're actually ready for today's webinar. If I don't see at least 5 to 10 emojis, we are not going to start. So please drop some emojis. Let me know that you're ready. You're ready to get some valuable information. Hi, Tunde. Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar with University of Southern Denmark. Just in education, we love to do this to give valuable information that we know is very useful to our client base. All right, so we have here the very beautiful privilege of hosting a representative, the person of Sine. I'll just allow her to say hi. Hi, Sine.
Hi, everyone.
How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Very excited for this webinar. So I'm ready to get started, definitely.
Oh, amazing. So I've been getting a lot of calls since we put out the registration links for the webinar. People have a lot of questions. At some point, I just tell them they're going to be here themselves. So why not just chill, and have that conversation one-on-one with them. Whatever questions you might have, whatever inquiries, whatever it is you need clarity on, rest assured that you are going to be getting that information right here in this webinar, exclusively hosted by Jestone Education with University of Southern Denmark. So we are going to be starting, but just to inform everyone that the chat box is open. So if you have any question during the course of our presentation, feel free to drop it in the chat box. And after her presentation, we're going to have that session to take questions and address every single concern that you have. My name is Benaya. I'm your lovely host for today. I'm also co-hosting with my colleague Tosin, who is on screen duties today. I'm going to give you the floor now so you can begin the presentation. Over to you.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Let me just find the right screen. Yes, this is the one. Let me know if you can see my presentation and the slides. I hope that it starts changing slides as well so that it's not stuck on one. So first of all, my name is Sine. I am very happy to be here. I am the international officer for the Faculty of Engineering at the moment. We do have another one starting very soon, so you're also going to be introduced to her. She's going to start next month. So there's a lot of news going on, and I'm going to talk about that as well, about the university. But first of all, my name is Sine. As I said, I'm Danish, but I've traveled the entire world almost, trying to talk to international students who'd like to study in Denmark. So if you have any questions, as Naya also said, write it in the chat, and then I will do my best to answer it. If I cannot, I will talk to our admissions office or whoever might be able to help, and then get back to you with the answers, of course. Yes, very happy to see so many people joining the webinar. This is actually a picture of our campus in Sønderborg, which is where we have our English taught bachelors and most of our masters. But it's not the only campus that we have. So the entire university itself is a comprehensive university. However, as I said, I'm from the Faculty of Engineering, and it is the engineering programs that I'm going to talk to you about today. because we have a specific chance or a specific strategy with the engineering programs, because we do not have a maximum capacity for most of the programs. We need a lot of engineers in Denmark, and we can also offer you something very special with the engineering programs at SDU. But in general, we are a comprehensive university. We are a research university, which means, of course, that we are research-based, but we also want you to have a holistic experience of your studies. So we do have a lot of practical experience during your semesters as well. All in all, we have approximately 30,000 students at the entire university, and we have 20% of those approximately are international students. And that is because, of course, we do have English taught programs, but we do also have quite a lot of Danish taught programs, where then, of course, we don't have a lot of international students. But that's not the case for all of our study or all of our destinations, so to speak. Some other news is also that from next year, we're going to have another campus in a city called Vejle, which is a tiny bit north of Kolding. So it's still in the region of southern Denmark, but it's just a tiny bit more north than what we're used to. Additional to that, the campus will have also only English taught programs. At the moment, we're looking at starting with 4 bachelors, 2 in engineering. One of them is going to be a profile in software engineering, and the other one is going to be in game development. Most of you probably know the company Lego, which makes like building bricks and game like toys, all of that, but also, of course, for adults. And they're the main investors in this new campus and the new study programs. So we are very excited about that. The campus that is our main campus is the one here in Odense. Odense is not a city that most people know internationally, but it is the 3rd largest city of Denmark. That's not meaning much when coming from other places. There's approximately 250,000 people living in the city, 20,000 of which are students, and approximately 25% of the students are international students. That being said, if you study an international program, at least 50% of the students will be international. So sometimes more, especially with our study programs, since we don't have a maximum capacity for a lot of them, there will be even more international students. Odense is also known kind of like as the fairy tale city of Denmark. It is where the author Hans Christian Andersen is from, the guy who wrote The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling, and a lot of other fairy tales. It also has a very beautiful old town, but it's also a very modern city, especially to study in, and especially if you're interested in robotics. Our master programs are located here, or some of our master programs are located here. We don't have any English taught bachelors, and it's also a very strong robotics hub. So there are tons of both local but also multinational robotics companies located in the city. And because of that, we of course also have a very strong study program in robotics. In general, our study programs are typically developed in collaboration with the company, so that we are making sure that the students get the right qualifications, so they study the right courses with the right ideas, with the right developments, so that we don't educate into unemployment. That is very important for us. And of course, also so that they get a holistic experience of their studies, and they know how to work in groups, and they know how to also have project management and software skills like that. We have tons of labs, workshops, equipment for the students to use, but not just on this campus, but on all of our campuses. And in Odense, at the main campus, we actually also have a housing guarantee. So when you apply for a bachelor or a master, or sorry, for this campus, a master, when you apply for the master, you can apply for housing at the same time. And then you are guaranteed a place to live in one of the student dorms. The student dorms are not like in a lot of countries where you share a bedroom with multiple people. You will always have your own bedroom, of course, unless you're bringing a partner. But you will always have your own bedroom other than that. And it's more of student apartments. And it's not as expensive as a lot of people think it is to live in Denmark, but I will get back to that a bit later on as well. On the campus in Sønderborg, we unfortunately at the moment do not have a housing guarantee, but we are working on that. we would really much like to offer everyone student housing, so you don't have to worry about anything when you're moving to Denmark. And in Sønderborg as well, we have had everyone accommodated, so it's not an issue with the housing. We are just a bit more careful with the word guarantee. The housing guarantee as well, I said you had to apply for the housing. It is more of signing up for housing. So when you sign up for housing, you sign up for a waiting list basically, and then you are allotted the housing. And if you decide not to study at SDU, or if you don't get accepted for some reason or something like that, you just say no to the housing, and then you are free of it basically. So it's very easy peasy, and there's no catch there. Here are a few pictures of our university campus in Odense. It is a very modern facility. There are large rooms where you can fly drones, you can build your own devices, your own robots. And it's very, as I said, very practical environment to study in, open space, and very modern. The campus that I'm located at is the one on the main page, or sorry, the first slide. And that is the one in Sønderborg. It is our international campus because everything is taught in English. We are also very close to the German border. Approximately 85% of our students are international students coming from more than 60 countries from all over the world. Approximately half of our staff are international as well. So we do have students from Nigeria, we have students from Colombia, from Egypt, from Morocco, from Indonesia, and of course all of Europe as well. So we have a lot of different nationalities. Approximately 17 English taught programs, give or take. We are getting more and more study programs, so we're opening up new as well. And all of these study programs are with an international perspective. Partially, of course, because you're studying with international students, but also because you're working together with international, multinational companies. And that's not just for internships or anything like that. It is also when it comes to things like semester projects or in-company projects or your thesis. We do have a lot of companies coming and asking our students for help with issues that they're having to tackle, or if they are just looking for new creative solutions. And we have seen companies loving the solutions so much that they've ended up buying them. When the companies buy the solutions, they're not buying it from the university, even though the university has given the equipment, the components, and everything like that. And we've taught the students, of course. It is not the university who gets the money or the credit. It is the students, because it's your brilliant ideas, it's your time that's spent on it. So we do have a lot of students who end up selling their ideas or their projects to the companies as well. We also have a lot of students who start their own company. We are, for the 4th year in a row, if I'm not mistaken, the #1 university in Denmark when it comes to entrepreneurship. We have something that we call the SDU Entrepreneurship Labs, which can help students with ideas to start their own company. You don't have to have a specific idea. You can come with any idea that you might have, and then we can help with market plans. We can help with how to patent ideas. We can help with pitches. We have audio labs where you can record everything, and then you can listen back to it in order to practice being more enthusiastic or being a better seller in general. And because of that, we have the most startups by students and staff in all of Denmark by universities, and of course, most successful startups. We've also had a couple of students last year win the World Championship, or the unofficial World Championship of Entrepreneurship, and that was 2 of our engineering students. So doing quite well in that area. The campus itself is also very modern, and even though it is an international campus, it is still Scandinavian lifestyle, and that means we have a really good work-life balance. I will come back to that a bit as well. We also have a very flat hierarchy, and we very much want our students to interact during the classes. So we want the students to share their opinions, sometimes disagree with the professors, and state their opinion and share their experiences and their ideas. So we don't use professor, doctor, sir, madam, all of that in Denmark. It is first name basis and direct communication. So if you have any questions for a professor, you just send them an email directly, you go to their office or you ask them in class, and it's very easy and you get your answer relatively quickly. Same with the rest of the staff at university as well. If you have any questions for our education team or for a counselor or anything like that, just contact them directly. Here are a few pictures of our campus in Sønderborg. We do have real trees inside. And I know that some people might be a bit concerned about the dark winters here in Denmark. Yes, we do have very dark winters, but it's not that the sun doesn't come up at all. We do have sun come up for at least a few hours, and we're trying to make it as cozy and comfortable for everyone as possible. I want to be honest with you, winter depression is a thing, seasonal depression is a thing, but there are definitely also a lot of things that we could do about it. For example, the trees that we have inside, we put lights in for the entirety of the darker period. Now it's already getting lighter outside, so it's not for a long time. It's not Norway or the north of the Arctic Circle. We are still in Europe, a bit more south. And we're just in general also having a really nice cozy environment, lots of social activities to participate in so that you don't feel lonely and don't feel sad or depressed or anything like that. We do also have very, very cool facilities to use, both for studies, but also social activities and for research. The top picture is from our clean room. That is one of the few in Europe that has a class 100. Which means a very, very few particles per square centimeter, which is why they have to wear the sort of like hazmat suits. They're not allowed to walk in with their own clothes. They have to go through a changing room, airtight room, and then they have to put on these suits. And because we're one of the few in Europe, we have other universities, we have companies come and use our facilities as well. And we do also have some students working in these facilities for their thesis or helping with research. The study programs that we offer with no maximum capacity for accepting international students are these. So we have on the bachelor side, we have electronics, we have mechatronics, mechanical engineering. We also have engineering, innovation, and business, which is our business engineer. And then we have software engineering. For the masters, we have, of course, all the same. So electronics, mechanical engineering, mechatronics, engineering, innovation, and business, and software engineering. But we also have something that we call physics and technology, robot systems and robotics, and also a new study program starting this year in supply chain digitalization. You can probably also see that some of them are in Odense, some of them are in Odense and Sønderborg. So physics and technology and software engineering, for example, they have two profiles. One of them is in Odense and the other one is in Sønderborg. Robot systems is the only one that is only in Odense, but they also do have two profiles actually, one of them being advanced robotics and the other one being drone systems. And something else that you've probably also noticed is the bachelor programs. We have two kinds of bachelors. We have for electronics, mechatronics, and mechanical engineering, we have something that we call the Bachelor of Engineering programs, which is a more practical study program. It's a 3.5-year program. With a mandatory internship, and then we have the Bachelor of Science, which is a normal bachelor in Denmark. It's a 3-year bachelor and a more academic bachelor. When you graduate the 3.5-year program, you have the title of an engineer, and historically speaking, you would go out and work afterwards. Nowadays, if you choose the right electives, you can still go for a master. So they're not limiting you in any way if you want to go for a more academic route. The Bachelor of Science, however, you do not graduate with the title of an engineer, but you have something that we call legal claim for the matching master. So if you graduate the Bachelor of Science in software engineering, you just have to sign up for the master in software engineering, and then you are automatically accepted into that master. You can, of course, also apply for other masters. There is, again, no limit there as long as you fill the requirements for the masters as well. Yes. The way that we teach, I've already talked a bit about the more holistic approach and that we are a research university, but we also want to have the practical aspects. So this is actually an example of one of these practical aspects of our teaching. This is a second semester project for mechatronics, where the students have to be inspired by an animal that can climb fence, ladder, rope, something like that. And then they have to look at the animals, the movements, analyze that, develop a model and simulation. And then from that, they have to build the robot itself. This group was inspired by a gecko because it can basically climb everything, develop the prototypes, and then they built the model as well. And as you can see, there are sensors at the front of the robot so that it could climb up ropes, register that it was at the top, and then climb back down again. So that's already a second semester mechatronics project. And it's very hands-on. In the beginning, the students are going to have some guidelines, but the further along in the study program you get, the more, I want to say, artistic liberties you also get. So you're going to get less guidelines and you'll get more freedom with what you want to develop. Yes, same for masters, of course. There are also going to be a lot of practical experience there. It's not just for the bachelors. And then we have something that I am very happy to be able to announce is that when you graduate either the Bachelor of Engineering, where you get the title of an engineer when you graduate, or you graduate one of the master programs in Sonabo, then you are actually capable of being offered a first job guarantee. We do have requirements for that. I'm going to come back to that. But the idea is that the first job guarantee is for 6 months. It's not an internship. It is a job as an engineer in one of the companies in the area. The idea is, of course, that the first job guarantee will be changed into a permanent position. The starting salary of an engineer in Denmark is approximately 4,500 euro a month. So not a bad salary, definitely. And you will then work as an engineer. It's not getting coffee, it's not doing like tiny things. It is a fully fledged engineering job. And it is because we need a lot of engineers in Denmark. The requirements for this first job guarantee, we only have a few, and most of them are very easy to fulfill. The first one is that you have to collaborate with a company during your studies. It can either be your in-company projects, your internship, it can be it can be your bachelor or master thesis as well. The smaller semester projects do not count because they're simply not substantial enough. Then you also have to complete your degree within the set time, so without any delays. That is also very typical in Denmark. Most students do graduate within the set time. It is possible to get it prolonged if that is what you want, but then unfortunately you cannot use the first job guarantee. One of the reasons why most students do not delay their degree is because we have a way of doing exams so that students are, I want to say, less stressed. Of course, exams can always be stressful, but for most of the studies or for most of the courses, you have at least 3 tries. So if you fail the first time, you have a second try, and if you fail the second time, you have the third try as well. If you get sick, you can apply for a 4th. That's why I said at least 3. Furthermore, the way that we do exams are also a bit different from a lot of other places. Of course, we have the typical written exams and oral exams, but a lot of the time, these exams are what we call open book exams. And that means that you are allowed to use your notes. You're allowed to use, of course, the books that you've used during the semester, but you're actually also allowed to use the internet. And that is because we believe in Denmark in general that it's more important to be able to find the right information, new information, instead of remembering a book that might be outdated and then quoting that. It is more important that you know how to find new information, how to look into and research solutions for new projects or problems. That is also how it's going to work in the real life afterwards, and especially within technology, everything develops so fast, so quickly. So it is going to be important to be able to follow that development and find new solutions. The last requirement is probably the hardest, which is that you have to acquire a B-level Danish during your studies. all students in Denmark are offered free Danish classes, usually on campus as well. So it's not going to be that difficult. You're not going to have to take care of it yourself. There are people who will help you. And it's only to B1 level. And the hardest part about learning Danish is not the grammatics. Our grammatics are pretty straightforward. It is going to be the pronunciation and getting to practice it in Danish, because more than 90% of the Danish population speaks English, and we very much like to speak English as well. So if we can hear someone struggling, we are going to try and help and switch to English. And even though that is a misunderstood kind of help, because you want to practice, you want to be better in Danish, of course, it is something that you have to remind us about. Just let us know. Thank you for switching to English, but I'd really like to practice my Danish, so would you please speak Danish with me? And then we're more than happy to help. Absolutely. We do, of course, recommend students learning Danish, even though so many of us speak English. But that is simply because it also, of course, gives a good understanding of the history, of the culture in Denmark, and it can help with both student jobs, but also future jobs. Not just the first job guarantee, but also other jobs if you would like to stay in Denmark. I want to go back to the first job guarantee real quick, because even though we have this first job guarantee, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to offer, we also have students who feel like learning Danish is too much during their studies, and that is perfectly understandable, perfectly all right. And the first job guarantee is more of a safety net. Even before we had the first job guarantee, approximately 82 or 83% of our students had a job in the area right after graduation. So it's actually not that difficult to get a job without the first job guarantee. Again, because we need a lot of engineers in Denmark, and most of us speak quite good English, and it's not a necessity. Same with our part-time job as a student. You can work in retail, in hospitality, in a lot of places without knowing Danish. So yes, back to the presentation. Talked a bit about the whole practical experience and group-oriented teaching, the semester projects. There's one more thing that I would like to mention, and that is on the 5th semester of our bachelor's in Sønderborg and on the 3rd semester of the master's in Odense, we have something that we call expert in teams. Expert in teams is when the students come together across study programs, across engineering programs, and work on a larger project. It is something that the students can choose if they stay on campus and wants to stay and do their electives and the expert in teams. But on the same semester, they also have the option of going abroad to do an exchange. We have more than 400 partner universities worldwide. So that is also an option, and a lot of students are also interested in that, of course. But the expert in teams is where you work together with a lot of different backgrounds, not just, of course, nationalities and stuff like that, but also engineering backgrounds. And then you figure out what kind of what kind of position in a group setting that you take up typically. Yes, I've talked a bit about the housing. And again, we really encourage you to sign up for housing as early on as possible and for as much as possible, just to higher your chances of getting the housing that you are interested in. The prices range depending on what you sign up for, of course. You could choose to have your own studio apartment with your own kitchen and bathroom. That would typically be around 350 to 400 euro a month, including things like heat, water, internet, and in most cases, electricity as well. We have a cheaper option as well, where you share the kitchen with other people. In that case, the kitchens are fully equipped, and you don't have to worry about your stuff, of course, still, because there is going to be a cupboard for you with a key only you have, and there are going to be multiple stoves and ovens and refrigerators as well, so you don't have to worry about that. That is usually around 260 to 300 euro a month, also again including everything. The last option is if you want to have a shared apartment with friends, siblings, or a partner that you want to bring with you. Then you can apply for a shared apartment. You'll have each your own bedroom, typically a common area, kitchen, and a bathroom, for 400 to 500 euro a month for 2 people. So again, if you're 2 people sharing a 500 euro flat, it's only 250 each. So it's, again, not that expensive. I would also like to talk a bit about scholarships. We do have a few. We don't have many, but we do have a few. Some study programs are not covered by scholarships, but we do have the masters in mechatronics, electronics, mechanical engineering, and robot systems. And when you apply for the study program, you automatically apply for the scholarship as well. So you don't have to send an additional application or anything like that. We have full scholarships, and then we have 50% tuition fee waivers as well. Yes. When we're looking at who gets the scholarships, we're looking at your English level, so your either TOEFL, IELTS, or Cambridge, Michigan certificate. Then we're looking at how well your bachelor matches the master that you're applying to. And then we're looking at your GPA as well. Last but not least, we're also going to invite all the students who fulfill the requirements for the master into an interview. And the interview is going to look at, of course, your understanding of English, being able to express yourself in English, talk about the studies, your understanding of what you're applying to, but also a bit about your motivation. And this is very important that you participate in these interviews, because without the interviews, you're not going to get a scholarship. And if your GPA isn't super high, but you are extremely motivated, the chances of getting a scholarship will also increase if you have a good interview. So it's important to participate there as well. We do not, unfortunately, have any scholarships for the bachelor programs. We only have for the masters, and only these 4 masters at the moment, at least. So now you're probably also wondering about work-life balance and student jobs. I've already mentioned student jobs, and on a student visa, you are allowed to work. The classes are usually flexible. You will typically have classes 4 days a week. So not 5, not 6, not 7, but 4 days a week, and then not necessarily from 8 till 5 every day either. It might just be for 4 or 6 hours, or sometimes maybe even 2 hours. And then you're going to have time to schedule your own lab time and workshop time as well. That is not something that we are going to decide when you're going to do in the beginning, sure, so that you can get a feel of how to use the labs and what kind of equipment we have and everything like that. But further on, when you have to work on your semester projects or any other projects, we're just going to want you to schedule your own time and, of course, agree with your classmates, your teammates, when you're going to work on it. So you can typically schedule it around part-time jobs as well. But on a student visa, you are allowed to work up to 20 hours a week during the semesters. And that is because during your summer break, so June, July, and August, you are allowed to work full-time. And a lot of these jobs are with a lot of these jobs, it's not necessary that you know Danish. Certain work, again, as I said, in hospitality, there are, of course, cleaning jobs. You can work in greenhouses, deliver newspapers. There are lots of jobs where you do not need to know Danish. We are also seeing students who are very motivated to find a part-time job and decide to offer their time or their skills as tutors for high school students or bachelor students. We also hire quite a few students at university, both as teaching assistants, research help as well. We have students who work as just more practical stuff for student assistant jobs. I also hire quite a few students for something that we call ambassadors, where we would then have students doing webinars like I'm doing right now, but also join me at fairs around the world. Sometimes I would also have to send students by themselves somewhere. So there are tons of different student jobs you could do without knowing Danish. The minimum wage in Denmark would typically be around 13.5 euro. This is also the absolute minimum that you should accept. If someone wants to go lower than this, that means they're not part of a union and they do not respect your rights as a student worker. So I would definitely not work there. Typically, I would even say that you should go for jobs that pay more like 15 euro an hour or 16. If you're studying a master or if you're at the third semester of your bachelor's, you will also be able to, or more likely be able to, find a part-time job that is relevant for your study program. And in that case, the salary per hour would also rise quite a lot. It would be then around 20 to 30 euro an hour, depending, of course, on what kind of job you get. And something that is very important is also get a contract before you start working. Not after you start working or anything like that. You need to get your contract before you start working so that you don't end up working for free. Very important. So if you do not get a scholarship or if you study a bachelor, we do unfortunately have tuition fees. However, we're not as expensive as some other countries or private universities around the world. The tuition fees for the 3.5-year bachelor is 6,400 euro per semester, and the tuition fees for the Bachelor of Science and also the Master of Science in Engineering is 7,500 euro per semester. And I'm just going to mention this, even though I'm not sure there are any students with an EU citizenship, but if there are students with EU citizenship or dual citizenship with the European Union, there will be no tuition fees. Yes, now the application process. The bachelors and masters have 2 different platforms. I'm going to show you a screenshot of the platforms. They also have different application deadlines. The bachelor deadline is the 15th of March, always. It is, deadlines in general do not change, but the application deadline for bachelors is the 15th of March. We know that you don't have your final diploma at that time, but that is all right. You can upload your transcript of records for the last 3 years in high school, your statement of hours in the required classes, and language certificate. Language certificate and final diploma can also wait. We have a final deadline for that on the 5th of July. For students doing IB, we know that that's also the time that you get your final diploma. It's the same date. So if you let us know in advance, also if you're not from IB, but if you know, let us know in advance that you're not going to have your final diploma by the 5th of July, we can push that deadline a bit. Usually not more than a week, but our admissions office will look into it for sure. After you've applied for one of our bachelors, we also have something that we call the unit test, which is an online test. You sign up for, you choose a time and a date that suits you, and then you go through the, what's it called? It's an aptitude test. So it's 95 questions, 2.5 hours, and then it's looking at things like logical thinking, critical assessment, and situational awareness skills. It is also looking at understanding and answering questions in English, a bit of a higher level of English, so it's more academic. It's a test that's basically looking at if you're ready to study at a university level. Yes, and the results from that test we're going to send out approximately mid-May, which will then be an indicator of the chances of being accepted. But if you pass the exam and if you pass the test and you fulfill the requirements for the bachelor's, there's no reason that you should not be accepted. We're not looking that much at GPA, especially also because we have the test. For the master's, the deadline is tomorrow. So it is very, very soon. We are looking at your transcript records from the bachelor. We're looking at your course descriptions from bachelors, and of course, also language certificates. And if you have any supplementary courses, for example, summer school, we do also accept them. I know that not all universities do accept supplementary courses, but we do. If you do not have your final diploma yet, that is also okay. We can wait with that for a bit, but we would need your newest official transcripts of all past courses as well as the registered courses. And if you're writing your bachelor thesis, we would need a description of the subject that you're writing about. Yes, we do not have any additional tests during the masters, and for the masters that I've mentioned, we also do not have a specific GPA that we're looking at. Something that I would also need to mention about the bachelors is that if you have the ordinary Nigerian high school diploma, or IB or A levels or international school, you can apply directly into both the Bachelor of Engineering and the Bachelor of Science. If you have the technical exam from high school or something like that, you will only be able to apply to the Bachelor of Engineering programs without a foundation year. Yes, I hope that makes sense. As for the language certificates that we accept for both bachelors and masters is these four. So either TOEFL, minimum score of 88, IELTS minimum band average of 6.5, or we are looking at a Cambridge or Michigan certificate, either C1 advanced with a minimum score of 180 or C2 proficiency. TOEFL and IELTS are not allowed to be older than 2 years. It is okay if you have a test that expires after you've applied. It just has to be valid on the date that you apply. So if you did a test a year and a half ago, but it expires in, let's say, June, that is okay, as long as it's valid when you apply on the 1st of February or the 15th of March for bachelors. The Cambridge and Michigan do not expire, which is also why we need a bit of a higher level there. Yes. The unit test I've already talked about. You can sign up for it online. You can also choose to do it physically on campus, but most students, of course, do it online. Yes, make sure that you have a stable internet connection when you do the test, because you unfortunately only get one try with this one. And then the admission letters are sent out relatively late. With the masters, we're trying to do it not a rolling admission, but as early as or as fast as possible. And if anything's missing, you will also get the information. For the bachelors, it is a government set procedure, so we unfortunately cannot do much about those deadlines. So the deadline for sending out the admission letters for bachelor is the 28th of July. However, we do send out the results of the unit test, as I said, in approximately mid-May. And we are trying with engineering students to offer something that we call a guarantee score. So if you fill the requirements, you get the guarantee score, you can be sure to be accepted. And I know that there are some students who use this letter to start the visa process as well. So that was the presentation that I have for you. And I could see that there are quite a few comments, questions in the chat.
Yes, there are a couple of questions in the chat box. Thank you so much for that insightful presentation. So I'm going to look through the chat box and I'll just read you the questions so you can answer. But before we do that, I'd like for us to take a very brief break. So that others that haven't typed their question can take this opportunity to type in their questions. So you can start writing your questions in the chat box. We're going to take a very short break. And in about a minute, we'll be back and then we'll start attending to all the questions. Tosin, over to you.
The University of Southern Denmark, also known as SDU, is driven by an ambition to promote talents and research results, creating social development. Founded in 1966, the university today houses approximately 27,000 students and 4,000 employees, with an annual turnover of 3 billion Danish kroner. SDU is present in 6 cities, primarily in southern Denmark. It is solidly rooted in the region, integrating the latest international knowledge and research in the society around it. It also strengthens the recruitment of talents, and all parts of society give input back to the research. The university's academic depth and width are ensured through its 5 faculties, which are: together, their 27 departments annually produce more than 6,000 graduates and 27,000 scientific publications. The great challenges of the future in climate, welfare and health are complex and unpredictable. Here, SDU has the unique advantage of the needed academic width to find new solutions. Among other things, there is the Danish Institute for Advanced Studies, which is an international elite research center at SDU. It was created precisely to produce epoch-making world-class research through new collaborations between top researchers across faculties. Global climate challenges are also being addressed at the new Climate Center. Through cross-disciplinary and external collaborations, the Climate Center is to come up with new and renewable solutions. In addition, many of SDU's strategic research projects are cross-disciplinary, and students will find subjects that are composed across research groups. In 2023, when Odense's new Faculty of Health Sciences has been joined to the new University Hospital, the entire building, together with SDU, will be among the top 30 largest buildings in the world. With so many research disciplines under one roof and many local campuses, SDU is well equipped to help influence and develop the society of the future.
Local companies and the University of Southern Denmark has joined forces to create First Job Guarantee. The First Job Guarantee guarantees the new graduates a 6-month employment at a local company. And it's not an internship. It's a real job with a minimum salary of 5,000 euros per month.
The companies behind the First Job Guarantee is a mix of large international companies, medium-sized and small companies.
We need young engineering talents. That's the reason why we offer you a job guarantee.
Local companies and the University of Southern.
All right, thank you, Tosin. Sorry, I had to change my device. I was having issues with the other device. Oh, hope you can hear me. Can you confirm that you can?
Absolutely.
All right, amazing. So we are going to go right into the questions. There are a number of questions. So we'll just start from the top, right? I'll take the questions. If there are any repetitive questions, I wouldn't bother asking them. So let me just start from the first one that we have here. So just give me a second. Okay, so I didn't do a STEM, Miracle is asking, I didn't do a STEM course during my BSc, but I have relevant work experience in programming, and I would really love to study software engineering for my MSc. What is the possibility of me gaining an admission?
We do, for our engineering programs, need, unfortunately, a bachelor in either in STEM, either science or in engineering. We are not looking at any work experience. We're only looking at the academics, unfortunately, and we need a bachelor from STEM and then at least 15 ECTS in mathematics, unfortunately. But we do have other programs as well at the university side. We do have data science, for example, which accepts a lot of different backgrounds. So that might be an option.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that answer. There's another question here. Hello, I have a first degree in computer engineering. Would you talk more about the MSc software engineering program? So I'll look through the questions, and I think there are particular programs that people are asking a lot about. So I'll just, after this question, I'll mention the second program so you can talk through those programs all at once.
All right,
That's it.
over to you. All right.
So for the software engineering programs, we do have two profiles. We have, of course, the one in Odense, and then we have the one in Sundbyberg. Software engineering is looking at, the one in Odense is the more, I want to say, classical software engineering master with a lot of backend development, programming, object-oriented programming as well, of course. And then you have the option of having electives in a lot of different, in robotics, for example, or electronics with embedded systems. And then the one in Sundbyberg is looking a bit more at things like cybersecurity and AI. It is a new study program in Sundbyberg, so it is still developing, but it is going to focus more on the AI cybersecurity sides of everything. Of course, still with a lot of the important basics classes as well, of course.
Does international students require proof of English to apply for a master's degree?
Yes, international students and Danish students as well require language certificates. One of the ones that I mentioned, so either TOEFL minimum score of 88, IELTS minimum band average of 6.5, or either Cambridge or Michigan C1 or C2 proficiencies.
And that's clear. Is there a minimum age for undergraduate admission?
Sorry, technically no. Sorry, we do have quite a few students who are 17 when they start with us. In that case, we do of course need a signature from a guardian. But as soon as you're in Denmark, it's going to be fine. You'll get the same information. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. I was sick last week, so I think maybe there's still a bit there. But no, you'll have the same.
Sorry.
Sorry. You'll have the same coverage of insurance, housing, all of that. Yes.
All right, so just to clarify that, you need English proficiency. So we'll take a short break so you can just get yourself and just take a relief break, and we'll get back to it. So saying
All right, I'm good to go again.
Good?
Yes.
All right. So just to clarify what you had said, all students require proof of English. So whether they are Danish students or Nigerian students, you need to provide proof of English. All right. So there's a question here. Is there a minimum age requirement for undergraduate admission?
Yes, there is no minimum age. We do have 17-year-olds. We've had a few who were 16 when they started, but turned 17 very soon after. We will probably require a signature from your guardian, just to make sure that you are, of course, are allowed to study with us. But after that, you will have the same experience as a 18-year-old or 19-year-old.
We also have another question here. I hold a HND in marine engineering. I want to transition into software engineering or any tech courses. So just to clarify, are you asking that you want to transition into a BSc? Because you already made it clear that for the MSc software engineering, they need a first degree to be able to qualify for that. So I'll just ask that question relating to BSc. So can they, with a HND, can they transition into BSc in software engineering?
Transfer into software engineering is it's going to be a bit more difficult. Of course, we can transfer credit, but we cannot transfer into a specific year. But let's see, just check real quick. So this is an issue I've had with my HND is the higher national diploma, right? If I understand correctly. If you have the national diploma, then yes, you can apply directly into software engineering if you fulfill the requirements with mathematics on advanced level, English on intermediate, and of course also language certificate, and then physics on intermediate as well. Is it my connection that is bad, or is it okay. I am going to keep going with the questions because I can see pictures of people moving, so that's great. There are also questions about if I hold a bachelor degree in engineering, electronics, and I want to move to software engineering. So if you want to change your bachelor from electronics to, or let's say, sorry, if I understand this question correctly, you have a bachelor in electronics and you want to go for a master in software engineering. The specific entry requirements for the masters are very different. So for software engineering, I don't quite remember the specific requirements for all of them, but as far as I remember, electronics usually have the requirements for software engineering because you also have a lot of embedded systems, you have a lot of programming, informatics as well, and you have the mathematic background that you need usually in electronics bachelors. I'm not 100% sure if that's for all bachelors, so you would have to go in and make sure that you have the required ECTS points in the required subjects. Yes, I hope that makes sense and helps.
All right, thank you very much. So I'll be taking the question now. Someone said, I don't have a background in engineering, but I have a BSc of science in other field. Am I eligible to apply for MSc Supply Digitalization?
So for the supply digitalization, we also do need to have a bachelor in STEM, so either engineering or natural sciences. It does also require some ECTS in business, in the case of either project management or something like that. But no, you wouldn't. You would need again a bachelor in STEM.
Okay, thank you. So another person, Obina, is asking, he said, if someone is seeking admission for a BSc program, but without a scholarship, is it possible to find jobs abroad that can fully cover tuition and living expenses while studying?
It might be, yes. I have done these calculations a couple of times, especially because it is a concern, and I completely understand that. It's a concern about being able to finance yourself. Usually, a lot of our students get a job relatively quickly, so within the first 3 months or 6 months of their studies. And if you work the 20 hours a week in a job that pays a bit better, so let's say 15 euro an hour, it is going to be possible to earn enough to cover your tuition, especially also if you work in the summer. If you work full-time in the summer, the chances, of course, then you can earn quite a lot. that being said, of course, the first semester you would have to have the funds to cover, but for then the additional years coming, it's going to be easier to cover your tuition and living expenses. But you have to save up some money first, of course. Living expenses wise, usually most of our students say they spend around 700 to 800 euro a month, including things like food, insurance, phone bills, and of course also rent for housing.
All right, thank you. Someone is asking for the proof of fund requirement. Must all fees be paid before resumption?
So the tuition fees should be paid when you get accepted. You will get, of course, an email with payment information, and the proof of payment is actually enough for the visa process. You do not need to have a blocked account or specific funds that you have to show. If you get a scholarship, you can show that, of course, as well. But there might be some, depending on the office and who's at work that day, unfortunately, there might have to be some proof of finances. But if you can show that you've paid the tuition fee, you do not need to show any other bank account or bank statements.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm just scanning through the questions to ask only the ones you've not answered. I can see a lot of questions on HND and all of that, so I'm trying to skip that. Is there a document the school will provide for us to be able to apply for visa from Nigeria?
Yes, as soon as we can see that you've accepted the study program and that you've paid the tuition, we upload your information to the visa office platform, basically, or to their to their system. And that means that you just have to go to the consulate or to the embassy, and then they will be able to find you in the system and process your visa.
All right, thank you. Someone is asking about the refund policy in case of a visa refusal.
Yes, in that case, you will of course get your tuition back if you don't get a visa. It's not your fault that you didn't get a visa or you didn't get it in time or anything like that. So of course, we're not going to keep the semester fees. That is for sure. You also only pay one semester per time, so you don't have to pay for a full year. You only pay for one semester at a time. And we do, I've noticed that there were some questions about application fees as well. There is an application fee, not per study program, per university typically, 100 euro, both for bachelor's and master. And when you get accepted, this 100 euros will be deducted from the tuition fee. If you get a scholarship from one of the masters, you will get the 100 euro back. People who do not get accepted, unfortunately, will not get the 100 euro back, because the idea is to make sure that the students applying have prepared and looked into if they're eligible to be accepted, of course.
Okay, thank you. So More is, she's actually saying that she can fund her tuition and everything, but she has a third class in physics and 8 years of experience as a software engineer. Can she proceed to do an MSc at SDU?
If you have a bachelor in physics, again, we're not looking at any of the work experience that you have. We're only looking at the academics. But if you have a bachelor in physics, it does count as, of course, a Bachelor of Science or Natural Sciences. So it would make you eligible for also applying for engineering programs. We just need to find an engineering program that has the requirements that you're looking for. So for example, our engineering, innovation and business or supply chain management, you would need some something in innovation or entrepreneurship or business, project management. You might not have that with physics unless you've had summer school or electives in that area. But we have our masters in physics and technology, where we're looking at, I think it's 75 ECTS in mathematics and also ECTS in physics. So that one you would be eligible for applying to. You might also be eligible for applying to things like mechanical engineering if you've had some 3D CAD and machine learning as well. Sometimes the study programs can have electives in other faculties as well. So if you have fulfilled those requirements, then you would also be eligible for that one. But I think physics and technology is probably the one with the highest chances.
All right, I hope that answers your question. So Declan kind of listed his academic background here. He said he has a master's degree. Okay, he has a BSc in biomedical science, medical laboratory science. He has a master's degree in biomedical engineering. He wants to do another master's degree in areas of biomedicine, if you have any course like that, or a PhD in an engineering field. And he's also asking about the scholarship.
Yes. So it is possible to do an additional master. In biomedicine, we do, not at the Faculty of Engineering, but we do have chemical biomedicine. No, computational biomedicine. That was the one that we have, computational biomedicine, and then we have chemical, medical chemistry as well. And we have a master in the Faculty of Engineering within chemical engineering and biotechnology. They also work a bit with the medicine industry, but I think the other ones are more relevant for you. Those study programs do not have any scholarships, but if you're looking for PhDs in Denmark are a bit different than it is in a lot of other places, in the sense that it is a 3-year program. You apply to it as if it was a job, so not a study program, but a job, which also means that there are no tuition fees, but there is a salary. So instead of you paying for the PhD program, you get a salary from the university.
All right, that's a good one. I hope it answers your question, Declan.
Hello,
Okay,
Sine.
so More.
Okay. My video turned off. Hi, Sine.
Hi.
Thank you for the work so far. Tosin, just to give you heads up, I think we need to take questions relating to engineering, because today we're focusing on the School of Engineering. We're not able to touch on things around health sciences or business courses. It's strictly an engineering focused program or events that we're running today, just to give us heads up. But I also want you, Sine, to touch on the HNDs. I think I had that conversation as well with Anne. HND is the higher national diploma. It's not the ordinary national diploma. It's a 4-year post-secondary program. I know that a lot of countries and universities are not open to accepting students with an HND, but in Nigeria, I think it's an equivalent of a bachelor's degree, because they all have the same, they all go for the National Youth Service, they get the same advantage as people who have the bachelor's degree, so for that kind of program, I'll give you an example. In the United Kingdom, students with a HND qualification can go in for 2 things. One is a top-up. So they come into the final year of a bachelor's degree, and then get a bachelor's degree, because it's slightly different from a bachelor's degree. It's more hands-on and practical. And in some cases with work experience, they're allowed to go on to the master's program. So I think I've seen a lot of questions here around the HND. Is there a possibility of them getting into an advanced entry at the bachelor's degree level, especially if somebody's taking maybe the mechanical engineering or already has HND mechanical engineering and wants to come to SDU? Can they come in onto the advanced entry program of a mechanical engineering program and then transit to the master's program? I think we have a lot of questions around the HND.
Yes. So Now I completely understand what you mean. And we unfortunately don't offer any top-ups, and we unfortunately also usually don't accept students from programs like that into our or advanced into our bachelor's. You would have to start from the first semester in the bachelor. We would, however, after you started the bachelor, we might be able to look at transferring credits in the sense that you would then have you wouldn't have to have every single course. You would also then, of course, have reduced ECTS points because you pay per ECTS point, not per semester, but per ECTS. So we might be able to, after the students have applied or after you've started the bachelor with us, we might be able to transfer credit so you don't have to do a full bachelor. And then you might have semesters where you could skip, or you could only have 1 or 2 courses instead of a full bachelor. Going from the H&D to a master is, as far as I understand, not going to be possible. It is something that I will definitely look into. Also with our admissions office, they will know. But I don't think it's going to be possible, unfortunately. If you do a top up elsewhere, of course, then yes, we are happy to accept you into our study programs. But we unfortunately don't offer that. We used to, but we do not anymore, unfortunately.
Okay, so what I'm going to take out from here is that students can apply for an advanced entry into a bachelor's degree program. That's what you mean, right?
They can apply into a bachelor degree program, and then after they've started, we can look at transfer credit.
Okay, so they have to apply into first year of a bachelor's degree program.
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay, I think because it's new and you're looking, this is your first time looking into like this. I think with time you then see, because a lot of the HND students are actually very, very good academically because they offer more hands-on. Well, the program is more hands-on in terms of the approach as opposed to the bachelor's. But I think that would help if anybody with HND is looking to start all over and then look at the transfer credit, maybe a crash program. After you've started, they can then look at what have you done, what have you not done, and what kind of courses can be exempted. But that's when you have gotten in. So what it means is if you have HND, unfortunately for now, she's saying you'd have to apply for a bachelor's degree all over again. And I think it's for 3 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't mind, please, yes, 3 years bachelor's degree.
Yes.
I'm
With
sure,
possibility, of course, with transferring credit, so you might not have to do full 3 years.
yeah, I'm sure by maybe next year or in 2 years' time, admissions would have properly looked at all this and seen, what have you taken, what have you not taken, what year can you transfer into? But they are new into the Nigerian market, so we would expect things like this, and they want to review the documents and see how they can accept students going forward. But right now, it's 3 years for a bachelor's degree if you have HND and you're willing to go to Denmark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that insightful contribution. For those of you that are not aware, that's the MD of Jestone Education. And we are super pleased to have her join this webinar. Thank you so far for the answers you've been giving. I had some issues with my device, so I had to quickly sort that out. So yeah, I'm looking at the questions again. Tunde Usman, I believe this answer clarifies your question because I noticed you dropped the question a couple of times. So if you have a HND, you already, and you are willing to consider this option, feel free to contact us and we would handle your application. So I want you to watch again because we've had new persons join us. So we'll just clarify this because there are other questions coming in that are related to this. So those with a background in a different course, a first degree in a different course, wanting to go into another course. So the case study here is person has a BSc in economics, they graduated with a second class lower, and they want to move into MSc in data science. So just touch on those categories for those that have a different course in their first degree.
Yes, so for engineering programs, we do need a STEM background. We unfortunately cannot accept students from economics, law, or other social science, business, humanities, health science into our engineering programs. It would have to be them. If it is data science, it is a different faculty than mine. It is at the Faculty of Science. So if they would be able to help you more than I will be able to.
All right, thank you so much. And just to reiterate, the reason I asked that you touch on that is so that all those that are just joining and dropping the question just have it clear. Just to reiterate what the MD already said, this is a strictly engineering program. We're focusing on the engineering courses, and you need a STEM background to go into the engineering courses at SDU. So another question here on the tuition. Will SDU accept tuition installment, or must it be full payment?
It would have to be a full payment for the semester. We're not asking for a full year, so but we would have to accept, or we would have to need the full tuition for a semester. Yes.
Benaya, just to touch on something, I know that there are so many other questions that are not relating to engineering. And I would like everyone here who has that kind of question to note that Jestone Education has got partners in other countries in Europe. So we have Hungary, we have Belgium, so many other countries, Netherlands, that would offer what you're looking for. But the focus today is for SDU and it's strictly engineering. So you might still want to hang around. We'll still get back to you on those on that information outside of this. But today, strictly engineering we're looking into. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ma. And Murray, your hands have been up. Please kindly drop your questions in the chat box, and we are going to attend to them. So please, what are the criteria for getting your scholarship? There's a question here in the chat box.
Yes. So the criteria for getting a scholarship, we're looking at your bachelor background, how well it matches the master, if you have the right, of course, requirements, but also if you have a specific study program that matches exceptionally, then your chances are going to be higher. We are also looking at your GPA, of course. We need to have good grades. And then we're looking at your language proficiency. So if you have a certificate that is very good, your chances are also going to be higher. And then, of course, as I mentioned in the presentation, we're looking at the interview. So the interview is the most important part because that's going to give us a sense of your motivation, how your understanding of the program is, what your expectations are, and because we've also had students who are applying for mechatronics and don't really understand what mechatronics is about. They thought it was something completely different. So we're looking at, of course, also the chances of you actually accepting the study place and staying for the entire period of your studies instead of dropping out because you found out that it's not the study program for you after all. So there are a few different things, but the most important is the interview.
So that touches on the scholarship. So if they're going to check your grades, they're going to check your English language proficiency and a couple of other things that you have to confirm if you are eligible for the scholarship. And just to stress at this point that's the reason why we organize webinars like this, to help you ensure that you meet those criteria, right? And we would give you the best information to check what you are eligible for and help you avoid, errors and mistakes during the application process. Please, if you are here and you're ready to begin your application, I'm certain you were contacted by someone from the Jestone team that sent you the registration link and Zoom link for this webinar. Do well to get back to them, although they are still going to be recontacting you after the webinar to ensure that you start your application as soon as possible. I remember you had mentioned that the application deadlines is on February 1st, but then that an extension would be given of about 1 week, correct?
Sorry?
You had mentioned that though the application deadline is February 1st, an extension will be given for about a week. You had mentioned that you get that
for
correct.
the final diploma for the bachelor's that we can extend, but the application deadline itself is set. We cannot change the application deadline. It is tomorrow, but it is, I believe, at midnight. So you do have the day tomorrow as well to apply. It is not that we're going to stop in the morning tomorrow. You do have the day tomorrow to apply as well. Yes, for masters. For bachelors, it's the 15th of March. So you have a bit more time for bachelors.
All right, so you've had that. If you are ready to, you are ready and you want to go for this school, for a master's program, do well to contact us today and ensure that your application goes in. Jestone advisors are very skilled at beating deadlines. So if you allow us handle it, we are going to ensure that your application goes in before the deadline. So I'll just take you back a bit. You spoke about the interview briefly. So do you want to touch on what the interview covers?
Yes, so the interview covers, of course, the understanding of what study program that you're applying to. So for mechatronics or electronics, you're going to ask about your background, why you applied for this study program, what your expectations are for the study program, if you are planning on having a part-time job, if you have any experience in the area already. It's not a requirement to have experience in the area for work or anything like that, but it gives us an understanding of your knowledge about the study program and the subjects that we're going to have to talk about. And it's also going to be a talk about your motivation. Why are you applying to SDU? Where did you hear about us, for example, and a lot of things like that. So it's going to be a broad interview. And it's also a way for us to make sure that students have the language requirements and have the level of English that they have sent in. It's not an issue that we've seen, of course, with Nigeria or any countries in West Africa in general, but we have unfortunately seen students from, for example, Pakistan, China, who have had studied or had English certificates who did not match their actual English level. So that's also part of why we have the interviews.
All right, that's pretty clear. So I'm going to use a question here because it's a repetitive question to cover all of the questions in this category about people that have STEM backgrounds but have a second class lower in their first degree. So the question here is, I have a third class in physics and a second class lower diploma in computer engineering. Will I be admitted into a software engineering program for masters? If yes, what is required? Do I need to go for a PGD or a summer school? This person says they can completely fund themselves. So we'll just use this to address all questions in that category.
Yes. So for the engineering programs, we need a bachelor in STEM again, of course. It can be physics, it can be something in electronics, it can be an engineering program, it can also be biology or something like that, as long as it's in STEM. And then for software engineering specifically, we're looking for also 20 ECTS points in software development and programming. We're looking for 5 in operating systems, 5 ECTS as well in distributed systems and networking, 5 in database systems, 5 in algorithms and data structure, 5 in statistics, and then 10 in larger engineering projects. So that is what we're looking for specifically for the software engineering program. So if you fulfill those requirements, then you're eligible for the software engineering program.
All right, thank you. So one more question. I think that covers all of that. One more question. Can we come along with dependents? Can students come along with their dependents?
Yes, we do in Denmark have partner visas, so to speak. However, if you bring a spouse or a partner, or kids for that matter, kids are on your cost. So in that case, you would need to show some funds, blocked accounts when you apply for the visa. For spouses, it would be your spouse who would have to show a specific amount on their accounts, because it's not going to be your responsibility as a student to take care of your spouse. It has to be your spouse who's going to be able to pay for themselves. And they are, of course, also welcome to find a job while they're here. We are looking for people in general in Denmark, especially if they would be happy to have a part-time job, or a job in, let's say, healthcare. We're looking for a lot of healthcare workers as well, but also a lot of other jobs in general. But for a spouse visa, it would be your spouse who would have to have a blocked account, not you as a student.
All right, thank you about that. I'm just looking, thank you for that answer, rather. I'm just looking to be sure that we haven't missed any questions. For those asking regarding programs that are not STEM related, she had already stressed that you need a STEM related background to be able to apply for their master's program. And also for this particular webinar, we are focusing strictly on the engineering programs. So if you're interested in any other program that is not engineering related, we do have other schools that can offer you these offers, and you can speak to your advisor after this webinar, and we'll certainly get you the best offer. So I think we've touched on most of it. I'm just looking through to be sure. So for those asking about PhD programs as well, this webinar covers BSc and master's programs, all right? So yeah. What else? I think that's about, we've touched on most of the related. Okay, briefly touch on the documentation requirements. What documents will students be required to provide and all of that?
Yes, so for bachelor's, we do need, we need your transcript records for the last 3 years in high school. We need something that we call statement of hours. It's a document that we have on our website. I'm also, of course, happy to share it with you guys so that you have it. But it's basically so we can see how many hours you've had in mathematics, physics, English, and for mechanical engineering, we're also looking for chemistry. Has to be signed by your high school so that they can approve, yes, that is the amount of hours that you've had. Then we're looking at also course descriptions for mathematics, so that we can make sure mathematics and physics, so we can make sure that the right content has also been offered in your mathematics classes. Then we are also looking at, of course, language certificate, either IELTS, TOEFL, or Cambridge or Michigan. And then your final diploma, but your final diploma and language certificates can be sent afterwards for the bachelor's. For master's, we're looking at your, again, transcript records for your study program. We're looking at course descriptions as well. And we are preferably looking for course descriptions in all of your courses, not just the ones that are relevant, because there might be some ECTS points that we can find in other courses as well. And then we are looking at, again, language certificates. Your final diploma does not need to be uploaded by tomorrow. We can wait with that a tiny bit. But we do need, if you don't have your final diploma, we do need the latest transcript with all registered and passed courses, including a description of your bachelor thesis. Those are the documents that we need.
Does IELTS, since we're working against a very tight deadline, does IELTS have to be uploaded by tomorrow, or can it be uploaded later?
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, and for the test, English test, IELTS, can Duolingo suffice?
Unfortunately, no. Duolingo, I know that it's accepted in some places now, but Duolingo we don't accept. It's only either TOEFL, IELTS, or the Cambridge and Michigan certificates.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you making our time to speak to us. We are going to be wrapping up now, so I'll just give you a few seconds to give your final thoughts while we close out the meeting after that.
Sorry.
So there's been a lot of really good questions. Or sorry, Jessica, you have something to say?
Yeah. I think we should also touch on the start dates. I know that tomorrow is the deadline for September, but let's also touch on the other start dates so people don't go thinking there's no point, you know. They can then begin to put together their documents for the next start date, because everything that's been said will still apply, you know, even for the next start date. So I think we need to touch on the other start dates after September 2025.
Yes. So for the bachelor's and the master's, the semester starts on September 1st. We do have a few study programs that also start on February 1st. And for those, the application deadline would be September 1st. However, that is not the study programs that I know a lot about. It's not a lot of our engineering programs, but the deadline, however, will be the exact same for next year and the future years. We might change the opening of the portal so that the master portal opens up for applications earlier in the future. At the moment, it opens January 1st, so it's a very short time that you have to apply, but we're planning on hopefully opening it in December instead, so there's a bit more time to apply. Yes.
Thank you so much. And I just read Benedicta's comments in the chat box. Exactly next year, exactly next start date, let's prepare. I think that's the spirit, right? Even if you don't tomorrow's deadline, there's definitely, you have more time to prepare for the forthcoming start dates. So we're going to give your final thoughts before we close out the meeting.
Thank you. But yeah, as I said, a lot of really good questions. And I'm super happy that so many people participated and listened in while I was just talking on and on and on. I will be working tomorrow as well. So if there are any late minute questions or anything like that, you are more than welcome to contact me. So I can help if there are any challenges last minute.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making our time. And to everyone that joined, thank you so much. You are going to be contacted by your assigned Jestone advisor. Please work with them, cooperate with them to ensure that they give you the best. Tomorrow's deadline is only for PG. We still have for the BSc programs, that's still open and we can continue to put in applications for that. So work closely with your advisor. If you have any further questions after now, you can communicate it to them and they would provide you with the answers that you need. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining. And I'll see you in our next webinar. And hopefully, Sini is going to see some of us in Denmark soon. Thank you.
So, bye. Take care.
Actualizing dreams.